Let's bring you the very latest information now on the air disaster unfolding in the south of France. Germanwings is now confirming that an A320 passenger jet crashed over the French Alps. It is now revising the number. The number we'll work with for the future is 150 people on board, 144 passengers, 6 crew. That's 2 pilots, 4 crew members. Germanwings is a discount carrier operated by Lufthansa. It's set to hold a news conference at 10 o'clock this morning Eastern Time. Now let's look at a couple of graphics that help you understand what was going on at 30,000 feet up. This is from flightradar.com. The blue line, the flight's altitude, and on screen left you can see the takeoff from Barcelona, and screen right you can see the flight drop off sharply, which suggests the flight dropped about 30,000 feet in 9 minutes. We will not know what happened to cause that descent until the voice recorders, the cockpit recorders are located and analyzed. But let's bring in Jeff Semple on all of that. Jeff's been tracking the new developments. It's interesting, Jeff, I was speaking just a few minutes ago to a pilot who has flown these very jets in question, the Airbus A320s, saying that that rapid descent of 30,000 feet in 9 minutes, that is not of particular concern to him. Had it gone down in 2 to 3 minutes, that would have indicated something very, very unusual. But the time frame of 9 minutes, he found not far off the realm of possibility there. So that's something else to consider as everything is on the table now. The investigation looking at all scenarios. What's the latest you're hearing?
Well, it's interesting, given those comments, Heather. We had heard some still unconfirmed reports that the pilot did send out a distress signal at 30,000 feet at around his cruising altitude, suggesting that he may have had time to react to try and land this airplane, which does sound to be consistent to those comments you mentioned from your last interview guest there. We have heard, as you mentioned, that not the death toll, but the number of passengers on board, including the crew and the pilots. That number now been revised by the airline itself, Germanwings, saying there were 150 people on board that plane. The French transport minister, speaking in just the last hour, said that he believes there are no survivors, but we should stress there has been no solid confirmation of that, given that it's our understanding they have yet to reach the crash site at this hour. That Airbus A320, was flying from Barcelona, Spain to Dusseldorf, Germany. It was about halfway to its destination when it disappeared from the radar at 10:45 local time. It is believed to have crashed into a very mountainous zone in the French Southern Alps at an altitude, as you'd mentioned, of about 2,000 meters. What rescue teams say is an extremely difficult area to reach. We've just heard that that area has been deemed inaccessible to all ground vehicles. The flight itself was operated by Lufthansa's Germanwings airline, a very popular budget airline here in Europe, which posted a statement on Twitter saying that their deepest sympathies go to the families and friends of the passengers and crew, adding that if our fears are confirmed, this is a dark day for Lufthansa. We hope to find survivors. Now, unconfirmed reports, as I mentioned, that the plane was flying at cruising altitude when the pilot sent out a distress signal. That is raising some faint hope that he may have had time to react. We've heard some analysis about the weather in that area at the time it's believed the plane went down, reporting nothing really out of the ordinary, that the flight conditions looked good. The winds were pretty benign. However, there is some bad news for rescue crews. They are expecting the weather to turn ugly over the next few hours. Heavy snow expected, which could hamper those rescue efforts through today. Now, French President François Hollande said it is too soon at this point to know the cause, but given the mountainous conditions in that area, they are at this point fearing the worst. The airline Germanwings is expected to hold a press conference in about 90 minutes from now, Heather.
Okay, Jeff, thank you very much. And that's the last we'll hear from Jeff because, as I mentioned, he is heading over to France to continue to cover this for us here on CBC News Network. I want to show you a picture that we've just received in. This is going to show you the view from a rescue chopper over the Alps near the crash site. And we're just going to linger on this because this will just give you exactly what we're dealing with, both condition-wise and geography, topography-wise. You can see it's a very mountainous site. It's a very isolated site. This is about 2,000 to 3,000 meters up as far as altitude. There is a lot of snow. And what mayors are saying from the villages, this is an area where there are just tiny villages with about 300 people in 3 tiny villages. So what the mayor of one of those is saying is it's about a half an hour by car, 5 hours walking to where this happened. No one would have heard anything because there are so few people who live in this region. So it looks like because of the conditions, it's going to be necessary to use helicopters to get to the site. And again, our first look at a photo from one of those rescue choppers as we continue to bring you as much